So, the Master High Dragon trials have been out for a while now, and this past week I managed to get my first clear on one of them, being Master High Jupiter. And from my experience running in public lobbies and trying to get a group together on several Discord servers, I've discovered a lot of things that I wanted to share with the community. First and foremost, a huge thanks to the people who helped me get this clear. I don't know who any of them are, but if you recognize yourself, thank you. Secondly, it's important to understand the magnitude of difficulty and entry barriers for this fight, as well as what this guide will cover. Master High Jupiter was unfortunately balanced around the power and DPS output of Galacleo. This guide is designed to cover how to clear with 3 Galacleos and an Audric, but I will first cover all the mechanics that differ from the lower difficulties so that regular compositions can understand them as well. If you are unfamiliar with the lower difficulties, please watch my other guide on High Jupiter first, as I won't be covering anything I already covered in that one. Link in the description. As previously stated, the fight has high barriers to entry, so before I get started, let me offer some general preparation tips. First, be prepared to go all in on a unit, but see if you can find a group to run with so you don't have to move up to 600 augments and craft new weapons. Second, while I was running in public rooms, there were often players who left after a single loss or as few as 2. I understand if you need to leave to do something, but I would highly encourage players to stick around with the same team, even if they lose a lot. The team I cleared with cleared after attempting the fight for about an hour with the same 4 people over about 20 attempts ranging in length from 4 minutes to mere seconds. The reason I encourage this is because when you run with the same players, you learn more about how they play and what they're going to do. Every time you join a new room, it's a new set of players and a completely new set of unknowns. It also helps players learn the fight, and if you are in the position to, it can also help to not throw immediately if you've entered a new part of the fight and you can showcase what comes next. Also, there aren't many players in this pool right now, so leaving a room has high odds of just ending back up in the same one again. I don't know much about standard compositions, but I've heard you'll need both defensive co-abilities from probably Curran and Patia. But for the Gleo-Audric composition, you only need 3 Gleos and 1 Audric. Audric should be the host, as he'll be baiting Jupiter's attacks and you'll want to avoid desync. As for equipment, I'm not sure where the threshold is for how many of the Gleos need tier 2 dragon weapons, but my composition had 2 of them and my Gleo had a max unbound dragon tier 1 wand. All Gleos will need the Wormprint, the Bridal Dragon, and Candy Couriers, and the Dragon Shinobi all max unbound. I'm additionally unsure how many augments you'll need, but my Gleo had all 600 equipped. Audric has a stranger setup. He will also need the Bridal Dragon print, but he's also going to need a max unbound Happy New Year to survive and avoid being paralyzed. His choice in sword doesn't matter too much from what I've seen, so pick your strongest. And of course the dragon weapon is still the optimal choice. For his dragon, he's going to need one that can stun Jupiter. My sources tell me he can also be slept or frozen, but I've only seen Audrics running High Midgardsormr, Zephyr, or Arctos. The dragon will need to be max unbound so that the stun chance is high, but bear in mind that Jupiter will not be afflicted 100% of the time. He has a 99% resistance, and the average chance to inflict stun from a dragon is 180%. Affliction chance works additively, so 180 minus 99 leaves you with an 81% chance to stun. That's about 4 in every 5 attempts. Now that I've covered preparation, I'll go over what mechanics are new in the Master difficulty. Jupiter amplifies several times during the fight. When he amplifies, he will send lightning striking randomly around him, and players have to move close to him to dodge it reliably. Master Jupiter goes into a Bolt Barrage after his first amplification. Bolt Barrage and its less annoying younger brother, Bolt Impact, do not have the purple circular damage area indicators that they have in lower difficulties, making it tricky to dodge them and trickier to place them. The first Bolt Barrage is different from the rest of the fight, as it is the only one where players should have any level of static charge. In order to avoid the attack, players should move to the edge of the arena as soon as, or preferably just before, the attack is announced. Coordination is a problem here, especially in public rooms, but there is a really simple trick to this that I'd like to get word around. Each player moves to a point on the edge of the arena in a cardinal direction. The starting positions of the players should be the directions they move in. For instance, if Audric is hosting, he'll be ahead of everyone and should go north. The second player will always be on the left and will go west. The third player, where I was in my runs, will go south, and the fourth player, who was on the right, will go east. From those positions, all players should circle around the arena clockwise. 2 rolls is plenty enough to dodge the blast, and as long as you roll just before the previous trap lands, there should be plenty of room for all of the traps. They only last 5 seconds from the moment they land. From there, all players are free to converge on Jupiter. Later in the fight, players will not have static charge and should group up and place all of their bolt barrages together to avoid a messy battlefield. More on that later. Next, his peck, dash, and circular lightning phase has some changes. First, always assume it's amplified. When Jupiter pecks, he will launch 3 lightning bolts forward, 1 straight ahead of him and 2 angled out slightly. His dash has no changes, but after circular lightning, he will have his amplified 5th 4-way blast, followed by another 4-way blast that is offset by 45 degrees. I think this can be iframed, as another member of my team usually skilled during it instead of dodging. The last change is to Jupiter's Fulgur attack. It will always be the sweeping Fulgur variety, the one he previously used during amplified phases, but Master Jupiter adds 2 more sweeps after the standard 2. The second 2 sweeps are perpendicular to the first 2. The third sweep comes from the left, where the second from the bottom lane will always be open. The fourth and last one comes from the right, usually out of view until it's already moving, where the second from the top lane will be safe. There is plenty of time to position yourself before the first sweep, a decent amount of time to get in position before the third, and just enough time to dodge the fourth. I found that a single roll and a diagonal roll is enough to safely dodge between the first and second sweep, and 2 rolls and a diagonal roll is enough to dodge between the third and the fourth. Finally, there is one entirely new attack, Everlasting Blitz. This attack is very similar to Bolt Barrage, but there is only 1 per player. The target circle can follow the player until just before the attack lands, and the resulting trap lasts for a whole 90 seconds or a minute and a half. That's almost a third of the 5-minute time limit. These must be placed very carefully, and it's best to overlap them off to the side of the arena. Only move away from the circle when it's just about to land, or it will follow you and place the trap away from where you had it. That concludes all my tips on the new mechanics, so from here on out I'm just going to walk through my clear and discuss the Glio-Audric strategy. I don't know a whole lot about Audric's role in the fight, aside from where he needs to bait, where he needs to stun, and where he probably needs to iframe, so I'd refer you to Brotel's Audric clear video for more information on that, link in the description. When the fight starts, Dragon tanks Supreme Surge. Audric cannot use his Dragon skill here, or he will not be able to stun Jupiter later in the fight. Following the blast, Jupiter will use Shocking Spark. The Glios on the left and right will need to roll away from the one in the middle. It doesn't matter if the roll is before or after the Dragon tank. Use skill 2, then skill 1, then use basic attacks that will be interrupted by Shocking Spark. Then do another 5-hit combo and roll back to the middle Glio to dodge Brilliant Blitz. Drop the buff zones and skill 1. Roll closer and skill 3. Then hug Jupiter to avoid amplification lightning. Next, head to the arena exterior in the direction of your starting position and continue around clockwise carefully to avoid Bolt Barrage, then reconvene. The reason to go clockwise over counterclockwise is that Audric should now be on the right side of Jupiter, where he will be able to bait him in that direction. Glios need to meet him over there, dropping buff zones and using skills as they charge. Jupiter will summon an Electrosphere, then do a Radiant Blitz. There should be a large enough corner to roll into so that the Glios don't have to retreat much. Jupiter will then begin an Everlasting Blitz. Around this time, Audric should Dragon up. The stun has to be timed so that it lands after Electron Outburst has been initiated, but before it lands. Just after the stun lands, Glios should evade their Everlasting Blitz circles closer to the center of the arena, careful not to hit the Electrosphere. Audric will also need to evade his circle as well, leaving it below Jupiter, as he is about to need to bait him up to the top of the arena. Jupiter will peck, dash, and use Circular Lightning. Glios need to drop buff zones, use skills, and dodge accordingly. Next is Radiant Blitz, and then the new Sweeping Fulgur. Dodging the fourth Fulgur sweep should leave the group near the top left of the arena. Jupiter will then launch into a Bolt Barrage, and the team should move together around the edge of the arena, counterclockwise, to drop them in the same place. Be careful not to get too far ahead or fall too far behind, or someone will get hit. Jupiter will then amplify again, so hug him. Followed by a peck that should be baited into the wall, a dash, Circular Lightning, Radiant Blitz, and then another Bolt Barrage that should be dodged the same way as the last one. Glios should drop Buff Zone and Skill as they charge, dodging as necessary. Next up is Amplify, Sweeping Fulgur, and Radiant Blitz. If Jupiter is in the top middle, dodging these should flow together seamlessly. The next part of the fight is tricky. Jupiter will summon an Electrosphere and another Everlasting Blitz. Everyone needs to Dragon up because it will be followed by an Electron Outburst that cannot be cancelled. Be very careful as you also need to place and dodge the Everlasting Blitz while Dragon tanking. It's okay to pull your circle away from the wall a little, as you should be close to clearing at this point and you're about to run around the arena, but bear in mind that you don't want to accidentally hit one of your teammates. Next up is Bolt Impact. This one won't leave traps but should be dodged in the same way, running around the Electrosphere. Mind the sphere's attacks as you go. When you reach Jupiter again, he'll amplify, so hug him again. My clear was around this point, but I was able to see further into the fight on a failed attempt. After Amplify, there will be a Sweeping Fulgur, and a Radiant Blitz. Finally, Jupiter will go into another Electrosphere phase identical to the previous one. Electrosphere will be followed by an Everlasting Blitz and an Electron Outburst, which must be Dragon tanked again. Bolt Impact will occur again, which this time must be dodged clockwise around the arena, but once the third hit strikes, you may not have to circle around the whole way depending on who's alive. Jupiter will then amplify again and use Sweeping Fulgur. That's all I was able to see of the fight, but there were only 9 seconds left after that last attack. I hope that this guide helps others to clear, and I also hope we get the Adventurer balance adjustments that were hinted at recently so that this fight becomes more accessible. Let me know if any of my information was incorrect or misinformed, and thank you once again to the awesome people that helped me learn this fight. I'll leave you with the full run of my clear.